Hey guys, welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. We are joined today by Katie Minogue, who is down in Australia. Absolutely buzzing to hear how Hyrox is kicking off over there. She's a mum of three. We've just worked out how hard it is to get away and give up an hour of your time and the precision it takes to find an hour to come and talk to us. So we appreciate your time. She's also a lawyer, so you must be pretty organised to fit all this in. She's done Hyrox Pro at Melbourne and Sydney, and she's training for Perth right now. So welcome to the podcast. How's things down in Australia?
Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to have a chat to you and hopefully update you on our season so far. I've kind of made myself a self-appointed Hyrox expert because, like we all do, you kind of go down the rabbit hole with it, don't you? You do one and then you get such a kick from it, and then next thing you know, you're following Hyrox accounts. It's all that's coming up in your Instagram feed. You're working out who's in the rankings where, and so I feel like I've got a bit of a handle on the Australian scene.
Yeah, I love it. It's really cool. I mean, it's definitely growing over there, and it's really cool to be able to chat to you about it. How did you first hear about Hyrox? Are you from a sporting background originally, or how did you get into it?
Yeah, I've sort of been one of those people who has probably done just about everything under the sun. My original background is rowing. So when I was in school and in my early 20s, I did rowing at a reasonably high level, and that certainly kind of was my major sport for many years there, and then kept coaching for probably another 7 or 8 years after that. And then, in between that and now, age 39, I've tried all sorts of different things, but Hyrox in particular came up because some friends who and trainers at the gym I was at, they had signed up for it, and just sort of posted a thing on the whiteboard they've got there about what it involved, and I thought that actually looks like something I would really enjoy. So yeah, it's been really fun getting into it and having something to focus on that's not, legal documents or pooey nappies. It's a great distraction and outlet, and
That's a fair shout. So when you're running around and you're maybe like question your life choices on the burpees, you just think back to going through legal documents, changing nappies, and you're like, this is fine. I've got this all day long.
Yeah, exactly right. I'll sometimes, you get through the witching hour of like getting home and dinner time and getting them all fed and the screaming and the tantrums and negotiating bath time, and you get to the end of the day and you go, I not that the hardest threshold session could not touch the sides
Yeah.
of how hard getting through dinner and bath time with 3 kids under 5 is, so it's a walk in the park.
I think there's probably a lot of mums here and a lot of dads that can probably relate to that. Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
We usually like talk to other athletes, I guess people that don't have kids, and they think back to another challenge that's been harder. But yeah, I guess for parents, just not having to look after the kids and just focus on yourself for either a training session or a race is a luxury, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you must like the throwback to a bit of rowing then in Hyrox, where you're like, oh, it's got a 1K row in it. I'm here all day.
Yes, and this is definitely to preempt your questions later, my favourite station. And I've got one of my old the old girls I used to coach with. Funny, after each race, she like checks in on me on where I individually sat on that particular ranking. You know how you get the breakdowns of each station. She's like, I don't care about all the other stuff. Were you number one in the row? Because if not, I don't want to talk to you. So, that's my...
And how did the row
she holds me to account.
Does it? And have you like smashed everyone in the row? Or have you found it, or do you use it as a recovery, or how does that row work?
No, it was good. So the first time, so Melbourne, yes, I came first on the row, which is good. The second time, the only one to beat me was the girl who won the whole thing overall.
Okay.
Who I want to talk about actually, because she's like the sort of the big news story out of Australia, Joanna Wietrich.
Joanna, all right.
Yeah, she is amazing. So she in Melbourne, so she's only 21, I think, or 22. She raced the pro, and at some point during the race, the timing chip came off her ankle. So she did the whole thing, won the race, probably did like about a 105 or something like that. But that didn't count because she didn't have a timing chip. She then, so that was
brutal.
it was over 2, yeah, absolutely brutal. That was the Saturday night. It was like one of the later races. The women's open was the next day on the Sunday. So she came back on the Sunday morning, 8 a.m, ran the women's open, and not only won the race, but set a world record in her age group for the women's open. And then since then, yeah, she's just like continued to. So in Sydney, her and Meg Sutherland, who is part of the mixed doubles combo, they won their age group at the Worlds in Nice, and 2 other girls, they set a world record in the women's relay in Sydney. And then in Brisbane, Joanna ran the pro and did a one. So Lauren Griffith had came over and raced in Brisbane as well. So they were really having a bit of a head-to-head, and Joanna won against Lauren, and in 1 hour 50 something seconds. So like absolutely smoking time. That's a world record. So I said another world record for our age group now in the pro as well. And it's something, I think it makes her the 4th fastest woman to have run it. It's only
that's incredibly
Meg,
fast.
Lauren and Michaela Norman who've gone faster, and like it's her 4th race and she's 21 or 22. So she's like so exciting to see what she does. She's like well within the running for the Elite 15 now for the majors. So yeah, can't wait to see what she does. But yeah, that was very cool.
Aussie girls in the Elite 15 as well, don't they? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got a couple in the men's. So yeah, it's great to see her, smashing in the women. Yeah.
Oh wow! I mean, that's a good rundown. I feel like we've been trying to follow it. It's quite hard to follow when you don't know like the individual personalities as well. Like, and I think once you're there, you start to see the same people at the same races. I guess in Europe, the same people on the same scene, and then in America, it'll be the same people. And now,
that's
over in
right.
Oz,
And that's the nice thing, I think. It's such a baby sport in Australia. We only had the 2 races last year, Melbourne and Sydney, and then this year we've had Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and it's coming back to Melbourne again in December, which is really exciting. So we'll get a second race for the year in Melbourne, which is awesome. But yeah, absolutely. Again, I've done 2 races. I'm not exactly but
I think it's
a regular
weird.
yet. But you start to see the same people and follow the the personalities on Instagram and stuff. It's cool. It's a lovely little community. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's so young, like you said, actually 2 races is quite a lot. Like, I think anyone just starting to get involved, like, you only have to do a couple of races to start to get to know it quite well and get to know the same people. And
yeah. And it's
what
definitely
about,
addictive.
Yeah, it's very addictive, isn't it? Once you're in, that's it, you're hooked. What about like the venues and the race courses, and like has there been any outside running, or is it all in arenas, or
it's all been in a race. So Melbourne was just in an exhibition convention centre, which is pretty standard. Sydney was great. It was in where they had the part of the Olympics. So it's in a big domed arena, which was cool. Had the big dome, and it was sort of a figure 8 kind of shape, which had a few more twists and turns on the runs than a straight course, which some people hated, some people loved. Brisbane, I'm not sure. I didn't go to Brisbane, but I think it was an exhibition centre as well, and same with Perth. So probably reasonably, stock standard indoor venues. Yeah.
And what was so you went to your first Hyrox? Sydney was the first one?
Melbourne was the first one. Yeah.
And what were your thoughts? Like when you went in, like talk us through your like first race. What was it like down there? Like was everyone buzzing? Did you go to the gym? Did you go with anybody else?
It was so cool. Yeah, I went in and I was the only one I knew doing women's pro, so I didn't know if there would be anyone else around from my gym, or different people competing at different times during the day. So I knew they were racing earlier. I didn't expect anyone to sort of hang around and watch me at 7 o'clock at night or whatever it was. But it was really lovely. My sister-in-law, who's beautiful, bought a spectator ticket and came along and cheered me on. And then a couple of guys from the gym who'd done the mixed doubles earlier in the day came back and cheered me on, which was awesome. But yeah, it was just like, it's such a vibe, isn't it? Like it's and I think I've heard you guys say it before, like nothing is like your first Hyrox in terms of that atmosphere you experience when you walk in there, the buzz and the music and the excitement and the kind of chaotic busyness of it all. And it's just it's got its own energy. It's like got its own life force. It's really cool, unlike any other event I've ever been a part of, or any other competition of different things I've done. It's something else. Yeah.
And did you feel that it was like well organized? Like what's the Hyrox Australia setup like? Was it quite easy to get in, get registered, find the start? Did you have a good warm-up area and stuff like that? Is it?
Yeah, it was
set up
all
really well?
it was all felt very seamless to me. I mean, Melbourne was run over 2 days, so I think that was spread out a little bit more. Sydney was busier because it was almost the same number. I think both had about 6 or 7,000, between 6 and 8,000 for both. I think Melbourne might have had 8,000 over 2 days, Sydney about 6,000 over one day. So, Sydney was busier, but still just, they do a brilliant job, don't they, of just managing traffic flow. And it's like the thought of like, I loved listening to your episode this week with race director.
Oh, Susie,
Remind me of her name.
yeah.
Susie, yeah, about just how much goes into behind the scenes.
It's
And
crazy,
I
isn't
think
it?
sometimes with that stuff, it's like it's all the things you don't notice are
Yeah.
actually speak to all the effort and the details and everything that's going on behind the scenes to make it seamless. It's like when you just have this kind of seamless experience, it's because so much work has gone in behind it. But yeah, for me, I just thought, that there was really, I couldn't believe how for something that had so many, the logistics are kind of mind-boggling in terms of running that many people through all of those waves and from dawn till dusk. Like
Yeah.
it just must take so much organization, but they've really nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're doing very well, especially at the rate that it's growing as well. It's very impressive. And what about managing your logistics with your 3 children and job, and how's training been? Have you got any tips for our listeners of fitting in training?
Juggling it all.
Yeah, doing a million other things.
It's funny, isn't it? It's, it is. I've almost in a way I've got to be careful that like many things, and I think like many people who end up loving Hyrox and in this kind of a space, like we tend to be very all or nothing people, right? Like we're A types and we find something and we go all in, and balance is not a word that we love to hear. So it is important for me that I don't go all into the exclusion of family or to the exclusion of work. And realistically, I've got I get up very early and then I've got a pocket of time in the morning, and that's my time until the kids get up, and then we're up and at it for the day, and then we're getting everything, like anyone who's in this situation of having kids and working, like that's then you go until you collapse into bed with the last child at the end of the night. You're getting them ready, you're doing lunches, you're busting up fights, you're changing nappies, you're getting them, bribing them to get in the car, and then you walk in the door at work and you go, oh, sometimes I can't believe I actually made it. Like I feel like I've done a day and it's 9 a.m. and now my real day starts. And then it's a busy job, it's a demanding job, but it's a job I love. But that's go all day, and then you get to the other end of it and you do it all again with the kids. And I think having something though that is your own, that gives you endorphins, that particularly gives you goals to work towards, it gives you something that's your own in amongst all of that chaos and what can really be a fair bit of Groundhog Day with, you know, kids and work and stuff. So I love it. Yeah, I finished up at the gym a couple of months ago to kind of just train myself in the garage, and I'm sending me and my poor husband broke because I keep buying
I
more
just saw
bits
you just got your ski the other day, didn't
I
you?
just
I was
got my
like,
ski erg. Oh God, sorry. We got the tax return though, so it's okay. Like, but
it's
yeah,
a good investment. It's a good investment.
exactly. Yeah, yes, great resale value.
Yeah.
But I keep buying bits of equipment for the garage gym, and I'd love that. Just, you know, doing my own thing in the garage, and then it's nice, you know, on a weekend if it's sunny, you can just open up the garage doors, and the kids can be running around outside, and I can just go and do a few, you know, chin ups or something, or you know,
Yeah.
that you can kind of incorporate that flow into your life of just movement. And the kids see you doing it as well. Like it's nice to just incorporate it into family life, which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And when you've got if you've got the space like the garage to be able to put some bits in, it does take away that element of having to get to the gym, which also takes time and means you need more time out your day, and it makes it that little bit easier, doesn't it, that you can just
It's
go
a
out
definite luxury. Like, you know, it's very much a privilege that I don't take for granted. You know, to be able to do that. Not everyone has the space or the money or the, you know, is able to for many reasons. So yeah, I definitely appreciate the luxury. My husband's his car and his golf clubs, they just keep getting edged further and further to the side of the garage. I just keep taking more space, and his stuff gets his poor lonely golf clubs in one corner of the garage.
Have you got him to? Has he tried a Hyrox yet? Have you got him?
No, he doesn't. His philosophy is unless he's chasing a ball, he won't do it. So
Yeah, fair.
it's football or it's golf. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I reckon at some point he might be like tempted to do a mixed doubles once he goes enough time and sees what you're doing. He might.
That might have the opposite
Maybe.
effect.
All right. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. And how's it been like over your couple of races and like training for it and stuff? What's been your highs and your lows when you've been in a race? When have you like hit that high, and have you had any moments where you've been like, oh, what am I doing? Or
Yeah, I mean, only 2 races. It's probably gone literally both of those extremes. So the first race, I just had such a blast. It was so hard. Like I'd done some practice ones, you know, with mates at the gym, and it was nothing like doing it on the day. Like that level of, you know, fatigue and how hard you find it was just next level. But I had a great time, you know, at the end.
yeah,
You
once
know,
you've
you asked me
I mean,
during, are you having a great time? No, I'm not
no,
having a
yeah.
great time, but it was, you know, I was really happy. I got a 114
Yeah, it's
something like that.
incredible.
Yeah, I was really happy for a first race with that. And then was really keen to improve for Sydney, and then had been like, again, I think any of us can relate to that personality type that always just thinks, I'll just do a little bit more. I'll just do a little bit more. Just add a bit more running, a bit more load. And I got this hip niggle that, you know, I just sort of kept running on. And it was niggling up into the day of the race in Sydney, and you know, you don't want to not race, so I just thought I'll push through, and it just got sort of worse over the first couple of stations. I could really feel it, and then somewhere on the third lap after the sled pull, something just went so it was like guitar strings, like someone cutting through a guitar. It just went twang, and then I just felt it, you know, feel like it was kind of on fire. And then I spent another lap just like limping around, deciding whether I was just going to pull out or keep going. And probably, like, you know, any good physio, I'm sure, would say you should have pulled out. Are you an idiot? But I kept going. I limped my way around. I finished the race. So, you know, that obviously felt disappointing because it was, you know, not how I wanted to race. And then I had this big blown up hip that, you know, was limping around and just not super happy with how it went. But, you know, yeah, foolishly or otherwise, I was proud of myself for having finished it. And yeah, but of course there's that disappointment that you want to do better. You know, but having said that, I've just been trying to manage the hip now, trying to get to mixed up. We're doing mixed doubles in Perth. That's in 2.5 weeks. I haven't run since. So I've just been trying to rehab it as best I can. So yeah, we'll just see. But you know, like again, you reflect on that and you can still pull all of these positives out of it and the experience. You know, I was sad for about 10 minutes and then I was like, oh, for Christ's sake, don't take yourself so seriously, Katie. Like you're 39-year-old amateur athlete. Like this is not the Olympics. Like, you know, just it's fine. And yeah, really enjoyed the experience still. And you know, the mates that I was there with, they won their age category in the mixed doubles and qualified for world. So that was really awesome for them. And yeah, we had a really good time anyway. So
oh, that's cool. Yeah, sometimes these things happen, don't they? And like whether you make the right decision at the time or not, is whatever's right for you is the right decision. So like it's hard to stop once you're in it, I think. Like
yeah, exactly right. And look, I haven't done anything permanent or serious, so you know, it's fun.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
exactly.
fun.
And you know you. So what about another, have you got another like solo on the horizon or just the mixed doubles?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, with coming back to Melbourne in December, I would be keen to do another pro then and see if I can make some improvements. Yeah, would love to. Yeah, love to. I've got a real look. I picked the pro not because I'm some sort of hero, but really just because, like I always say, I'm a Clydesdale, not a racehorse. Like I'm not built for speed. I'm built for endurance and heavier things. So I picked that category because it felt,
Work for
I
you.
just thought if I have to like run around with some 16 kilo dumbbells and then, that I'll be running or push a sled that kind of slides across the carpet a bit easier. Like I won't have any time to rest between the runs, I've got to slow myself down a bit basically. So
it's a good way to look at it. It's definitely a good way to look at it. They are actually two very different races. When you look at like the pro and the open, like the pro, because you do have the heavier weights, you do obviously slow down a bit, and the open can be a lot more, like it's so much faster. Like you said, you can run through the farmer's carry with the kettlebells. You're straight back on that run again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The running is certainly the area that I've got to work on a bit more. So yeah, if the weights can slow me and everyone else down a little bit, that's probably to my advantage. But yeah, so I'd love to do another one.
And then Melbourne in December, is it December? That's like a good time as well, isn't it now? Like, especially if you can rehab your hip and if you can get a mixed doubles in before then, it'll give you some good time to build up to it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I think it really will be. Yep.
And what about mental game, your mental strength? Do you feel like Hyrox is a lot mental, and what do you do to try and help you get through that?
Yeah. I do. I think it's very much mental. I think I think a lot of it's for me, I think the mental aspect, like what happens and I always found this with rowing, and then like I did CrossFit for a while as well, and I found the same thing with CrossFit is on game day, you're always really gonna, the adrenaline and the vibes and the excitement and everything is going to mean you put forward the best performance you can in the moment that you're in. You're always going to look back and say, oh, could I have gone longer on those wall balls without breaking, or I could have just not stopped for that breather on those lunges. And so of course there are those little 1%ers in terms of the mental battle within a race. But I think so much of the mental battle actually comes from the training that gets you there. It's actually like the mental aspect is, choosing to do the long run on the Sunday when it's wet and windy and cold and the race is still 4 months away. The mental battle is, pushing yourself on that threshold effort, when no one else is looking, you know, and it's those things that actually get you to the position that mean when it's race day, there might be little tweaks but it's those earlier mental challenges. It's the grind and the work that you put in earlier that kind of put you in the position to put in your best performance. So the 1%ers like don't matter as much, like I made that, I had the mental battle, in the training sessions in the weeks leading up to it, that, got me this level of aerobic fitness so that I can, smash out 100 meters of lunges. Whether I took a breath here on that, 25th lunge, and I'm thinking back and going, I wish I didn't take that breath. I wish I had have just kept going. It's actually, what about all those, decisions that you made that actually allowed you to do the 100 meters of lunges at all, and in the time that you did do it, it's focusing on that stuff, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It is hard. I think everyone goes after they've done a race, oh, could I have done this quicker?
Yeah.
Could I have done it? Like, it's just got to be in our nature to like be like, oh, could I have, once it's over and once the pain is over, you always think like, oh, I could have done this. But in reality, like everyone gives 100%, you give it what you've got on the day, don't you?
It's just the human mind too, isn't it? We're so conditioned to focus on the negative, and in any aspect of life, whether we're thinking back to a social situation, and rather than think about all the great conversation we had over this 20-minute period, you're like, but why did I say that one thing, and I bet that made me look so stupid, and like we're just so conditioned to focus in on the negative. I think there was a great Rock's Life podcast that Greg does. He interviewed Kieran Riley, the BMX rider, the Olympic medalist. So, and he talked about which I loved, which is just flipping. So he was talking about injuries, and he got quite a bad injury, and he was saying he just tried to flip his mindset to say, well, I can't run and I can't ride. This is a really great opportunity for me to just absolutely smash my upper body strength, and I'm going to get so strong in my upper body that, and it's like, okay, can we turn it into an opportunity? Just that mindset shift of like, focus on all the stuff that you did as opposed to, focusing in on what you didn't do.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, it is like a mindset shift, isn't it? It's like learning to control like what goes on in your head and like focus on the right things that'll help you go through it. I always think it's like interesting when people go, if you just keep moving rather than stopping, because once you stop once in your head, you're like, oh, I've stopped. So then you start to stop a bit more. If you can just keep moving, especially on like the burpees. How did you find the burpees? Are you a burpee queen? Do you like the burpees?
No, they're my definitely least favorite. I'm nearly 6 foot, so it's, and I'm like broad. Like there's a lot of me to get down and get back up again.
If you're a rower, then you obviously, exactly.
Yeah, long levers, exactly. Yeah, but that mental point, I remember because I coached rowing for many years, and I always remember I coached schoolgirls, and there were some kids who would just, because our test was a 1,500 meter rowing machine, rowing machine test, and that was the big test you did at the start of the season, the end of the season. It was a big piece of what crew you'd be selected in, so kids would put a lot of pressure on themselves around this, and there was always a couple of kids who would just get stop. They'd stop once in the middle of the test, because you just have that sort of mental block and you can't get going, and that always then became a mental block that would haunt them every time they got on the test. It just becomes like the yips, like you get to that same point in the race every time, or same point in the test every time, and your brain, it's almost beyond your control. It's I mean, what I can relate to, and I'm sure everyone who's Hyrox can relate to, it's the wall balls, right? Like you get to the wall balls and you're gassed, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do 30 in a row, and you get to 19 and you just drop the ball, and you're like, hang on, my brain was ready to catch that and my body just said no. Like it's like your subconscious is doing it before you've even registered what's going on.
And did they have in Australia, did they have the Thunderdome for the wall balls? Like, did they have the separate bit for the wall balls where it's like in its own kind of
arena type
arena area?
It was sort of, so I don't know, it was sort of in the middle. I don't know. It was it wasn't, it was within, well, in Sydney, it was sort of the sort of hourglass shape. It was in the bell of the hourglass, so sort of at the end, and all the other stations were up the other end. And in Melbourne, it was sort of just within, it was all inside the loop, and it was just at one end, sort of inside the loop. So yeah.
And did you have the new wall counters, the like electronic?
No,
you didn't have
old
those.
school.
No,
Like,
and I think a lot of people prefer the old school.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
interesting to see what you
exactly.
think when they come, if they start to roll them
Yeah,
out
so
next
are they at
season.
all the events over there now, or?
They were just there at the end of the season, weren't they? They turned up
yeah.
in London Olympia and they were at the World Champs, but I don't know whether, I was wondering whether they just started now to like just roll them out.
No, lucky for us, no, because they look challenging. Yeah, certainly watching the World Champs and
I
seeing all the no
know.
reps and
Yeah, it's
And
definitely a different game.
Yeah, what about how do people feel? Is there much talk about the fact of like where the world champs have been, and you know whether that's a lot of travel if it does is in Europe again, or like I know there's been some rumor about it being in Hong Kong or something, but I'm not sure I believe that.
I think it got squashed. I think I listened to a podcast the other day with what's his name that runs Hyrox? I've just totally forgotten his name.
Mo
sorry?
Mo or Christian?
Mo, with Mo. Yeah. And he was saying that he'd squashed that it's over in Singapore or wherever they were. He said it will be.
But I feel like obviously the Australian season's amazing because you have races over there, like multiple, not just one now. But I guess for things like majors and world champs, like it's a lot of travel involved.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, look, we haven't had, so, you know, in terms of majors, I mean, Joanna will be the first woman from Australia to get in. You know, in terms of the guys, there was James and John Wynn, both of whom lived in Europe anyway. So there was no one traveling anyway from Australia. Whether that changes and we get anyone else in, and that affects things. But at the moment, I mean, we don't have the people in there to kind of you know, and it's a numbers game, right? Like you've got to go to where the people are. So I think I know a few people who went to Nice and they all had an amazing time having a Europe trip and getting away from, Australian winter, which I know is, nothing on a English winter, but it's still,
Scotland,
it could be pretty cold and miserable. Yeah, it's not Glasgow in, December, but it's, we reckon it's, pretty cold.
It's cold for you guys. So, we'll let you have it.
All relative, So, they loved it. And I think too, I think there's generally an acceptance that, that it's a massive sport in Europe. It's a bigger sport. It's still a baby sport for us. So we'll go where the numbers are.
And it's nice, like you said, the travel things. Like there's been a few people that have gone from the UK over to Australia this summer to go and do a few races, and they've obviously incorporated it in a holiday. And then, like you said, the guys that went to Nice for World Champs, I guess they probably did a bit of traveling around Europe whilst they were there, and it's like a reason to go somewhere, go and do your race, but also just incorporate a bit of travel, maybe have a holiday. So
exactly right. Yeah, and I think having a major in Asia is cool, and a lot of people, I'm sure, will want to go and do that. So, it's a much less. I mean, everywhere from Australia is a long way away. Even to get to Perth, like that's 4.5 hours flight
just
for
within
me.
Australia itself.
Just from one side to the other. So, we accept that as part of where we live.
It's part of it.
And Melbourne in December will be hot, will it not? Be a
warm, it's starting to get
not?
warm. So it's Melbourne's very, 4 seasons in one day. Like we can, it could be 18, it could be 34, who knows,
Okay.
it really is variable. So December's just starting to warm up. First month of summer, we don't get the really hot stuff that we might get in
So it's
February, March.
not a
so it should be all
bad
right.
month to have it. Yeah.
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what else comes out of the races, and how maybe next season there'll be even more there, and it'll just keep growing and growing.
Yeah, I hope so. It's got a lot of buzz, and like a couple of the big franchise gym franchises are on board. So BFT is a big one here, and F45 I think are coming on board as Hyrox partners. So huge amount of momentum, and it just seems to be really exploding in terms of people who are signing up and want to be doing it and are into it. So yeah,
and
it's
you've got
cool
some
to
big
see the growth.
names as well. Even with like Jane from the Erg Army, that's like been over in Europe and doing quite a lot with like Hyrox, and now she's gone back to Australia, and she always seems to be at different F45s and things, doing work with like ergs and different gyms. So it's good that you've got people creating the buzz that have been around Hyrox for quite a bit, bringing it back to Australia.
Exactly right. Even James Kelly, like, he's such an ambassador. Like, he's obviously been living over in Europe, but like, he's been amazing. He raced in Sydney, but came down early before his race and was pressing the flesh with everyone and chatting to,
cool.
he had all sorts of people come up to him, and he's sort of a bit of a celebrity in the sport, obviously here. So, he was awesome, and
his
he
Georgie
did a great time in Brisbane too. He did it in 55 minutes, I think, in Brisbane, which is really quick. So he's been great. Yeah, and real sort of flag flyer for the sport and for Australia. And he started a podcast too, focusing on just the Asia Pacific region with his sister, which is cool. So
I listened to that the other day. It was quite cool. And he did so well at the World Champs as well. I mean, his performance was just unreal. His burpees were just
they're wild, aren't they? Even just the intensity at which he like runs through the rock zone. You're like, oh my God, like he looks like he's fleeing a fire. Like he's amazing.
He is in the zone, isn't he? He is in the zone. So good. And Georgie, his girlfriend, is ace as well. They make a really good like partnership, and they're doing all their YouTubes and stuff like that as well, aren't they? To like build the sport. So there are some really big personalities coming out of Australia and that area, building Hyrox over there, I would say.
Yeah, it's very cool. I can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting. Well, on that note, shall we go on to the cheeky insights? And we have 8 questions for you. It's a quick fire round that never really ends up as a quick fire round, because we always just kind of get into a chat about it. But the first one is, which trainers do you wear to race Hyrox?
Well, I feel like a massive Hyrox groupie with this, because like everyone, the hot discussion topic on every forum and I listened to all of your guests answer this question over many weeks before I went into my shoe purchasing decision making phase. But that Puma actually had a 50% off sale, so I was like, great, I'll get these Nitro Deviates that everyone's talking about. Ordered them, half price, awesome, how clever am I? Got them, and then I was like, I have the widest foot in the world. I don't know why I thought that I could purchase anything that's not like a mega wide shoe as wide as a boat, because it just doesn't work. But then I had these Deviates that I really wanted to use. So basically I've got Deviates with holes cut in them, one at the side to let my side foot out, and one in the top toe to let my top toe out. So I run in Nitro Deviate Pros, whatever they are, but with holes cut in them to let my big fat feet out.
Modified Puma Nitro Pros.
Yeah.
Go faster. Holes inside.
Go faster, avoid blisters. Yeah.
I think that's the best answer so far. Okay, next up is, which was your favorite Hyrox venue to race?
Sydney was really cool. I obviously have only been to 2. Sydney was very cool. Just with the big dome and the figure of 8 shape. Funny, like I'm I really like the twist. I say I really like the twists and turns, and it made it really interesting. It was literally the worst thing because I had this bung hip, and every time I had to change direction, it would just sort of, it was probably the worst course because every time I altered direction, it would sort of twang again. So, but it was a cool design. And then Perth, I'm just excited to go to Perth and sneak away from the children for a few nights and have a little. I'm going to go scuba diving the next day, and so yeah, we'll see what that one's like. But yeah, it would be just a, you know, it's just these kind of mini breaks you can, you know, have an excuse for with a race booked in. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we know the answer to this one. Your favorite Hyrox station?
Oh yes, yeah, the row. Yeah,
The row,
definitely
yeah.
the row. Yes,
Through
I
and
think
through.
the thousands and thousands of kilometers I've done on that erg machine as a, you know, in my early years has just set me up with good muscle memory for the row. Yeah, yeah.
And what do you set your damper to, Katie? What does a pro rower?
Yeah, I think
set a damper to?
just a 5 or 6, somewhere sort of in the middle. Yeah, yeah. Nothing too flash. It's funny, we used to do it on when we were, you know, rowing days when you were testing, you do it on about a 7 or 8 for a 2-kilometer race test. So that was quite a bit higher. But yeah, what I definitely found, I also found because all the machines were brand new on the race, that in training I might have it about a 5 or 6. 5 or 6 on the day felt really hard because I just felt like a lot of extra resistance because there were these, you know, lovely brand new machines. So I'd probably go a 4 or 5 if I did it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Next up, if you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, who would it be?
So this one, I did think about this one, and have you heard of Iron Gran? So her name's Edwina Brocklesby. She's actually British. She ran her first marathon ever at age 52. Then she was the oldest British woman to complete an Ironman at age 72.
Yes.
And now she's 81 and she's still competing in triathlon. So 1, I think she's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And 2, I think with that kind of a background, she would smash a Hyrox. And 3, our average age would put us in the 60 to 65 age group, which I think we would have a fair tilt at dominating. So she's my pick. Yeah.
That was a very strategic move, but
Yeah.
also very inspirational.
All about the
I like
flags.
it.
All about the flags.
Oh god, Iron Gran.
That's so
Iron
good.
Gran.
Watch this
Me and Iron Gran.
Yeah. I saw on the news the other day there was a woman that she was 103 and she jumped out of a plane. I was like, what a ninja! Like 103, she did a skydive. That's what you want to be, isn't it? Like, what a ninja! Just to get up there and jump out of a plane.
I guess at that point you're like, well, if something goes wrong, I've had a good time.
I've had a great time. But like, yeah, doing it for the girls, like fair play. Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'll put her next in line.
Yeah.
If
Iron
Gran isn't interested, I'll take.
You can have Iron Gran and I'll take the one that jumps out playing. You got to find one, and then we'll all go in the 60 to 60.
We'll race you. Yeah, we'll race you in the 60 to 65 category.
Oh god. Okay, next one is, do you fuel for Hyrox, and if so, what do you take and when do you take it in the race?
Yeah, again, just Hyrox groupie. I just listen to what everyone else does and then, you know, try that. But a gel after the row, I tried in Melbourne because that's what everyone else said they were doing.
Yeah.
So it worked quite well. And same for Sydney. It just gave me a little boot. I don't know if it's psychosomatic or whether it actually is, but
doesn't matter what
whatever.
it is if it helps.
Either way, exactly. We'll take it. That seemed to work quite well. So yeah, I do that.
Yeah, perfect.
It's the fiddling with the little thing to get the thing off though, isn't it? You put it in your mouth and you can't rip it off, and then you're trying to suck it up, but you keep choke on it because you're breathing while you're running, and
it's so sticky if you spill it on yourself as well though. It's like
I think with kids my age I'm used to having all manner of, you know, like weep explode or someone's snot, or, you know, like
probably not
bit of, you know, sugar gel's nothing.
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay, next one is, what's your favorite type of training session for Hyrox?
I love like an AMRAP kind of sweat sesh, you know, something that makes you work really hard, feel really good by just really making you, feel like you've torched yourself. Like the one I, stole from you guys the other day. I
Oh, yeah, that we
reposted
did
it,
it.
but you'd done a great session at your gym, and my training partner and I were like, what should we do on Sunday? I was like, I saw this great workout that these guys
Yeah.
did, and I screenshotted it and we stole it from you. So that was a great one. Yeah, 4 10-minute blocks of 3
Yeah.
different exercises, rotating through with a kind of row, bike, run or ski, sort of lynch pinning it in the middle. That really did make us feel like spewing. So that was great.
Yeah, it's good to just you just grind it out, don't you? You just and
Yeah.
because it's in 4-minute blocks, you 4 10-minute blocks, you kind of focus on that 10 minutes, and before you know it, you're on the next 10
It
minutes.
was
and then
went
you've done the
so
40.
quickly, didn't
Yeah.
it? And the 1 minute rest between, that was really cruel, but but also good. Yeah. And the whole thing went so quick. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
totally.
no.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's definitely probably one of the most, out of all of like the people we've had on, is probably one of the most common, is like the grind it
Yeah.
out, which is what Hyrox is all about. So it shows why it works and why everyone loves it.
Yes. We're all masochists.
Yeah,
I know,
literally.
it does sound like it, doesn't it?
Okay, next one is, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox race?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of spoke briefly to it before, but I think for anyone who's in that, whether it's a busy mum or people who, busy people, professional people who, we're not in the fitness industry, we're not professional athletes. 90 to 95% of our lives is not to do with exercise or fitness. I think having something that isn't, changing nappies or making dinner or busting up fights or getting KPIs at work or managing difficult conversations or some of that stuff, it's something that's just for you. It's goal based, it's achievable, but it's challenging, no matter what level you're at. There's an opportunity to set that kind of a goal that you can strive towards and continually improve, but really feel like you've accomplished something no matter where you're at on that ladder with it. I just think that the kind of endorphins that gives you, and the sense of self and self-confidence that gives you, that's just for you, is it's so valuable. And just finishing the race, no matter how you've done it or where you come, is just such a rush. So it's unbeatable.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. It's good to have something just for you that you can separate, go in your little zone, do your grind it out session and not think about anything else.
It's
Totally.
meditation.
Yeah,
If meditation was, walking over hot coals,
It's a meditation for the people that really have tried meditation and don't get it.
Exactly.
Go back to
meditation
training.
for people who can't meditate.
You just can't do it.
And last question is there anyone that you'd love to see on our podcast, either a specific person or just a type of person, or someone in the industry somewhere that you would like to?
I'd love to hear from Joanna Wietrich, who, she's just
really
blasted
cool
onto the scene. I think it's so exciting to see what more will come from her. But I'd love to hear from her. She's so young too, like future of the sport. Hey, like I'd love to hear a bit more from her. So she'd be cool.
Yeah, that sounds like such a good one. We'll have to try and get in touch with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Good suggestion.
Yeah, for sure. So Katie, if everyone wants to follow your journey to, your next mixed doubles, and maybe if you're going to do Melbourne, where can everyone find you? I know you're on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
I am on Instagram. I'm literally just looking up my profile to see what my name on Instagram. I'm just like,
I should have got it up for you. I'll link it at the bottom anyway.
Hashtag underscore. KMIN1 on Instagram. So I don't have a particularly exciting profile, but I do love talking to people. So if anyone wants to just connect in terms of this beautiful Hyrox community that we've got and connecting over fitness and training and balancing that with a busy life. And yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to connect with people. I just love making friends through this space. It's really cool. Like-minded
Yeah, it's
people.
so cool.
Awesome.
And you're based in Melbourne, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
That's where you're
Yeah.
based. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, happy days. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully
so if anyone wants to come and train at my like awesome garage too, like I'm open for training partners.
Got a ski erg now.
Pair up.
Everyone got a ski erg. Yep, just to entice anyone who's, interested.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for making the time, like for sure, because I know you said you got out of bed and bath time a little bit, but I'm sure it's probably still just about going on. You're going to get pulled into the last little bit.
That's right. This is a good excuse to get out of the worst bit of it. But I said to you guys the other day, it's all a game of brownie points. I've given away a few
Yeah.
brownie points here, so Tom will get to play a round of golf on the weekend, get a few brownie points back. It's
Yeah.
it's just a constant exchange of brownie points. But it's been really nice to take this block of time and just have a chat with you guys.
Oh yeah, we really appreciate it. It's good to hear about what's going on down like in Oz with the Oz scene as well. And hopefully at some point we might be able to catch up in person. And hopefully it'll be over in Australia, but if not, maybe it'll be over.
Nah, I will come for the sunshine, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, have you got anything else you want to add? Anything else for anyone that's like thinking about doing a Hyrox in Australia, or anything we've missed about the Oz scene?
No, I think we've kind of captured it all, really. I think, it's just a great, beautiful, inclusive community. It's been really cool. So yeah, it's for anyone and everyone.
Yeah, and it's getting there. It's building. It's building from the UK, from America, Europe, and now down to Australia. So it'll be cool to see where we are in a year or two, won't it?
I know, wild, right? Like, how big can it get? It'll be really cool
It's
to see. Yeah.
crazy. But for everyone listening, hopefully you've enjoyed this. For anyone in Australia, I hope you've enjoyed the podcast and you're looking forward to the next few races. Anyone over in the UK and in America, we're kicking off our season soon. So keep up the training and we will catch you on the next episode.